Hello, fellow hamsters. Welcome to another adventure with me, Bellinghamster, the unofficial mascot of our fair city. The pandemic is still with us, so you stay at home and I'll take you on a virtual tour of Whatcom Falls Park, a fantastic 241-acre natural forest preserve in the heart of Bellingham. Here's a bit of its history. Whatcom in the Lummi language, noisy water. The Whatcom Falls area had for generations been the winter resort for the Lummi people. In 1908, the Young Men's Commercial Club of Bellingham bought it for $15,000. In 1911, rustic bridges were built across the creek. A group of women had started the Whatcom Falls Park Club and over the years improved the park, including building rustic bridges, shelter houses, and planting flowering plants and shrubs. The city purchased the property in 1916, and in ensuing years, other tracts were added, including the property at the Electric Avenue entrance, which was next to the streetcar line, increasing the number of visitors to the park. In the north end of the park is the remnants of a train trestle constructed in 1916 to link a lumber mill on Lake Whatcom to the wharf at Bellingham Bay. The fish hatchery was built in the 1930s, funded by the WPA to provide trout for Washington waters. By the mid-1930s, the original wooden footbridge was deteriorating and was removed. A new stone bridge was built with funding from the WPA in 1939. It was constructed with Chuckanut sandstone arches that had adorned the historic bike block in downtown Bellingham. The building had been demolished in 1930 after a fire. Most of the park's amenities are east of the bridge, so let's start there. Located a couple of miles east of downtown and just west of Lake Whatcom, this 241-acre natural forest preserve is arguably the most popular outdoor recreation spot in town. One of the two park entrances is at 1401 Electric Avenue. Enter on Arbor Street, then right on Sunset Lane to the parking area. You will find a large recreational area with gardens, streams, a playground, restrooms, tennis and basketball courts, and a bicycle pump track in this upper area of the park. The other park entrance is off Lakeway Drive. Silver Beach Road leads to the parking area, where you have access to restrooms, a playground, covered picnic shelters, the screen house, and the fish hatchery. This green two-story building near the fish hatchery served as Bellingham's water treatment plant for nearly 30 years. Today, it screens large objects and chlorinates drinking water for city residents. Just to the north is Derby Pond, where children under 14 are allowed to fish for a trout. From the parking area, it is a matter of yards to the most popular spot in the park, the old stone bridge next to Whatcom Falls. This moss and fern bedecked 80-year-old footbridge is the jewel in the crown of the park. The falls in the rainy season were aptly named Noisy Water by the Lummi people. West of the Stone Bridge is 3.5 miles of well-built trails that meander through dense foliage of Douglas firs, western hemlocks, western red cedar, and big leaf maples. We are going to start our trek from the northernmost part of the park at Alabama and Electric Avenue. Up ahead on the right is the Scudder Pond Nature Preserve. This 2-acre tract of cattails, sedge, and lily pads attracts an abundance of migratory and breeding birds, mammals, and aquatic wildlife. As we go south on this, the railroad trail, and right before us is the remains of a train trestle built in 1916 to transport logs and lumber to the dock on Bellingham Bay. A little farther down the trail, we descend some steep steps that leads us to a trail to Derby Pond. Wow! A cool kayak with my name on it. This is Derby Pond. If you look upstream, you can see the old train trestle. Lots of ducks congregate here. Hey, let's catch a bit of white water, huh? Whoa! And they call that the small waterfall? What a ride! But I am a bit soggy. That's better. This is the largest of the falls in the park. You know, I think I'll pass on this one. Wise decision, huh? It's time to hike to our next stop, Whirlpool Falls. Whirlpool Falls is a beautiful spot year-round, but in the summertime it is very popular, especially with the young. Downstream in the wilder area of the park is Pixie Falls. Located away from the trails, it's a favorite with divers and kayakers. Now we are heading northwest towards St. Clair Park. I'm told by our favorite dendrologist, John Wesselink, that this park is the best place to view the most species of western Whatcom County native woody botany within the city limits. The native species are located in the deeper wooded areas of the park, where you can find Pacific yews, Pacific dogwoods, Oregon crabapple, native maples, and native willows, and of course, some large Douglas fir and grand fir. With so much unspoiled native area in the park, wildlife abounds. Here are just a few of the birds you might see in the park. Squirrels are common, but occasionally a cougar is spotted. Nice kitty. Not far from here, you can see down into the canyon of Whatcom Creek, where a catastrophic event occurred over 20 years ago. On the afternoon of June 10th, 1999, the Olympic pipeline carrying gasoline exploded in Whatcom Falls Park. The pipeline that crossed Whatcom and Hannah Creeks ruptured due to various errors and malfunctions on part of the Olympic Pipeline Company and others. The gasoline poured into the creek and the vapors ignited in a fireball, resulting in the deaths of 3 young people. Property damage was estimated at $58 million. The companies agreed to pay a record $112 million to settle all federal criminal fines and most civil cases against them. Some of the individuals were actually sent to prison. A $4 million trust account was established to fund the Pipeline Safety Trust, and Washington state legislation was passed to mandate frequent inspections of the pipelines. The ecological scars can still be seen along the creek, but local officials and agencies have done commendable work to repair and improve the conditions of the creek system, along with Mother Nature. Besides its many recreational features, this amazing park is an inspiration to painters, one of whom is my alter ego and guy behind the camera, Lanny Little. Let's look up his website on my trusty iPad and see his paintings of this park. We'll go to the Little Gallery. Then, categories, landscape paintings. Aha! Here's a painting inspired by the park. Hey, let's do a Zoom meeting with artists Ron Pattern and Nancy Canyon. They live close to the park and get inspiration for their artwork while walking these trails. Meet Nancy Kenyon and Ron Pattern. Nancy is a poet, writer, and painter and well known in our artistic community. Nancy, tell us about your work that is inspired by the park.
Speaking of Bellinghamster, I like to walk in the park every day, and one of my inspirations is Scudder Pond, the first pond that we come to when we go into the park. And I like to watch not only the wildlife, but the lily pads as they begin to come up in the spring, and then fill out the lake or the pond eventually, and then by fall kind of begin to shrivel and die back. And I find that really fascinating to watch nature that way.
Nancy, it seems you are drawn especially to the Scudder Pond wetlands.
Well, I've actually done about 45 paintings of water lilies, and there's actually one on the wall behind Ron. And then I've painted some trees from Whatcom Falls Park too, but primarily the water lilies and the reflection I see on the water.
Ron, you also draw a lot of inspiration from the park. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, like Nancy, we're so fortunate to live so close to this incredible park. And, I kind of paint what I live, I think, what I'm experiencing on a day-to-day basis. So it just kind of filters in and filters right back out in the studio, I think. Love observing the second growth temperate forest in all the seasons, and the creek, how it changes, the water level changes, and the spectacular waterfalls. I painted them all.
I recall you telling me a few years ago that you used a video recording of the waterfall as you painted. Is that right?
I went down with my iPad and I recorded the waterfall. I called it full flood because it was really just incredible, the amount of water going over. And so I recorded it and brought it back in the studio. I was looking at it, and I had a 36-inch by 36-inch canvas, and I just kind of looped the video and played it, and I would stop it and then loop it. And I think it really enhanced the painting because it gave it a real, kind of idea of the action going on there. And much drier and warmer in the studio than sitting out there for hours.
Ron and Nancy, thanks for telling us about your love of Whatcom Falls Park. Bye, you guys.
See you, Bellinghamster.
Bye, Bellinghamster. It was our pleasure.
Before I wind this down, there is one more area of the park I want to show you. Waterline Trail. the only off-leash area of the park with plenty of space for dogs to run and sniff or whatever it is they do. Not far from the west end of the off-leash trail, a secondary trail takes you down to Waterline Bridge. Thanks for joining me on my adventure in this amazing park. See you next time. That's all, folks.